All right. Serious and silliness, bodybuilding, muscle talk. We have, of course, the future legend, Phil Clahar, the Jamaican tank. We have Luke Mon, 212 IFBB Pro, and the queen of muscle talk, Phil's wife, Patty Clahar. What's up?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Today's show is going to be a little bit difficult. Dorian usually joins us, but Dorian's friend and trainer actually passed away last night at some point, Dave Kalick. So we're going to be talking about him and basically the fact that people aren't addressing this problem in general, where men are, you know, taking their life, and it seems to be an issue that people are overlooking. But before we get started, I actually found a little bio on Dave that I'll just read, and then we'll get you guys' opinion on what actually, I don't know the actually what happened. Let's see. Okay. So all right, here we go. Coach Kalick has been involved with athletics since he was 8 years old, beginning with judo, football, wrestling. He has been involved in bodybuilding since doing his first contest as a teenager in 1986. Since he started coaching bodybuilders, he has worked with multiple top-level IFBB pro athletes in the past, such as our very own Stan McCoy. I think that's how you pronounce it. Stan and Dave worked together for the Jacksonville Pro 202, Detroit 212, Sacramento Pro 212, Utah Classic Physique Pro, and Stan's final show, Victory in Classic, at DC Coat of Arms in the Dominican Republic. Together, Coach Dave and Stan have 5 IFBB wins with 5 Olympia qualifications in the 202 and 212 classic physique divisions. Other IFBB athletes Dave worked with were Sean Roden for his first Mr. Olympia, Arnold Classic, as well as top pros Justin Compton and Tony Freeman. Dave is currently coaching IFBB pro Dorian Haywood, who has had several top 5 placings in pro shows, such as the New York Pro. He has also coached several high-level 212 athletes, placing in top 5 at several shows as well, such as Adam Young and Derek Oslin. He has many pro cards and overall USA titles under his belt. Coach Kalick, has also done dozens of podcasts over the years for several bodybuilding media outlets, as his interest in nutrition and endocrinology has always been a passion for David. So I didn't know his athletes to that extensive. I did not know he worked with Stan and Sean Roden. So Phil, go ahead. Why don't you talk about what happened and what is going on?
Man, I mean, honestly, when it comes to the mental health situation, Patty has more insight on that.
Okay.
She's very well versed on that. I can only speak on me knowing him since 2019. And he was a big part of, like, I had texted to you that when I did the Olympia, I wasn't going to go back to the finals.
Mm.
And he spoke to me, and Patty for like a good 10 minutes, man. It was really heartfelt. And I ended up going back to do the finals. So when I got that message, I got it from Patty first because she heard about it late last night. She didn't want to wake me up.
Mm.
But I didn't even know what to say, man. And then I got your text, and I don't know. I was messed up for a while, and then I texted her a couple hours later.
How close were you with him?
I wouldn't say super close, but just knowing him from 2019 till now, and the personal and spiritual connection that we have, he watched me come up through the ranks of bodybuilding. He saw my disappointments when I should have won in plenty of shows earlier in my career. I mean, he was just so supportive, man. So supportive of me. You don't get that in a lot of coaches, that's genuine and speaks from the heart.
Yeah, Patty, why don't you speak on it?
Well, I was going to say the same thing. And, the thing is that he wasn't Phil's coach, but he was so supportive of him. Even when Dorian was in the same show with him,
Mm.
I talked to him a lot when Phil would be backstage, because I'd be always complaining, oh, they should have done this or they should have done that. And he'd always agree. He'd say, yeah, that he should have won this one, or he should have been moved here or whatever. He was a fan of Phil's. And but I think we talked to him longer than 10 minutes actually at the Olympia, because Phil was seriously not going to go back at night because he was very upset. He was disappointed that they didn't move him around at all. They didn't compare him to anyone. It's just like they kind of stuck him on the end.
Mm-hmm.
And no offense to other competitors, but he definitely should have been in the mix a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So we ran into him and he talked to Phil and he said, Phil, there's a lot of guys that never make it to this stage. He's like, you're 49 years old. What you've done is incredible. And he said, you should be proud of yourself and go out there and enjoy yourself. And he was just really supportive. We talked a lot about God. I shared with him that I had a lot of mental health stuff going on this summer. I was suffering from really bad anxiety. And we just had such a great talk. And I'm really glad that was like the last thing we remember about him, because it was really special that day.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear this was stunning to me. I mean, I was thinking, God, he looked great. What happened? And then when I heard what happened, it really surprised me, because every time we saw him, he had a smile on his face, a nice thing to say, a big hug to give us. So I was really taken aback that that was what happened, that he took his life.
Luke, did you know him at all, or know
No,
of him?
I didn't get the pleasure to meet him.
Did you know of him at all?
No. I've heard his name a few times, but
Right. It's just some stats right away that I looked up. 70% of actual self-deletions, unfortunately, I can't say the word on YouTube, are men. The majority of attempted self-deletions are women, but the ones that actually really off themselves are men, 70%. And the large majority of them are over 40. A couple of reasons. First of all, most of the time they use firearms, because when they really want to do it, it's done. It's over. They've lost all hope and it's over. With women, they generally don't use firearms. And a lot of times with women, it's more of a cry for help, which is actually, a good thing, because you're actually sending a massive message that you need help. But these are, and the three biggest reasons why men tend to self-delete is they either have a terminal disease and they just don't want the disease to take over, or have their family suffer with them, financial problems, or a terrible breakup, a marriage breakup where they lose their kids and home and so on and so forth. And this is not the only one. There was a young man last year. He was in the New York Pro, actually, Luke. He won the New York Pro, right? I forgot his name. He was a classic physique competitor, and he also wound up taking his own life. And I feel like that this is obviously the great Luke Sandow, same thing. And this isn't across bodybuilding only. I feel like this is a topic that people brush under the rug. Nobody takes serious. And it seems to be when the numbers are 70%, we really should be talking about it, right? And I don't know why we aren't. I don't know why it's brushed under the rug. I don't know why this is avoided, because every time we have a death in bodybuilding, we might get a couple of podcasts, a couple of people talking about it, and then it is just moved right on. 3 days later, it's like nothing happened. And instead of trying to figure out what's going on, does anybody know his private life, or was anything happening, or we didn't know? And that's the good.
I just saw that he had a wife. They didn't mention children, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to say something. I posted something in Phil's story on Instagram a couple of months ago, and it was about mental health. And you wouldn't believe the guys, I won't say anyone's name, but that wrote privately and said, thank you for posting this. I almost took my life this year. Or, and I'm telling you, if you knew some of the people, you'd be stunned.
I can
And
imagine.
some of the people that are very successful and stuff, and they were saying how they weren't doing well either, so I don't know what it is. I think there's a lot of stigma around mental health. And also with men, they have like a wanting to, I don't know, be manly or not
Very
be like a
stoic,
sign
yeah.
of weakness or something,
Mm.
but it's actually not. And I don't, Phil, you're not going to mind if I say your history, will you?
No.
So when I met Phil, it was 3 months after he had tried to kill himself. Whoops, am I allowed to say that?
It's
Delete.
okay. Yeah, you did. It's fine.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's
And
fine.
when I met him, he had been on life support 3 months before.
Oh, I didn't know that,
And
Phil. I'm really sorry, man.
yeah, but after meeting me, he would never think of doing that again.
Definitely not.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make a little light of it. But yeah, the doctors didn't think he was going to make it. They didn't think he was going to, if he woke up, that he was going to be okay. And thank God he was and he is. And a lot of that was his faith of his family. They're Jamaican and you know they're Christian and they prayed over him top to bottom every day. They were anointing him with oil and never gave up. They just spoke life over him. And when he woke up, the doctors were stunned that he was completely fine. Um, and I met him a few months later. What really, aside from him being okay to look at, um, I really connected with Phil over our faith because I was a single mom. My first marriage was not faith-based, and there was a lot of problems. So I knew that the next person I was going to be involved with, I knew I wanted them to be,
Mhm.
in the same faith as myself, and that they were a believer. And so that's really what we connected on. And at that time, I was a 2-year survivor of stage 3 breast cancer. And so I was like, you know what? I almost died. He almost died. We're a match made in heaven. So um, now we've been together over 15 years.
All right. Oh,
So
wow.
I'm an 18-year survivor of stage 3 breast cancer. And it was very
Wow.
bad. I was 37 and it was pretty advanced, but
Mhm.
God wasn't done with me yet. And, I gained 4 step kids. He gained 4 step kids. We have 8 together and we have 14 grandchildren now.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah. So
Well,
God is good.
yeah, I'm a big stats guy. Like, I don't really like going on things like on emotion. I'm a big stats guy, but one of the stats is that when there's 50% divorce rate across the country, but when both people are of the same faith and practice in the same faith, the success rate of marriage goes up dramatically. Just on the, it's just like it's tenfold. So,
Yeah.
Luke, can you speak to this at all? Do you know of anybody, or have you had any kind of? Because I mean, I think I think we've all been through some dramatic events, and we've have to come through it. And obviously, guys like Phil become stronger and better, and some unfortunately crumble. But I think we've all been through some kind of dramatic events, whether it's divorce or whether it's health reasons or mental health. Can you speak on anything like that, Luke?
Well, yeah, I've like it got to the point where I thought about it at one point because I was going through something really, really bad. Well, I thought it was bad. I know some people have things worse. I actually was telling a friend that I was going to do it, and he pretty much talked me off the ledge.
Mm.
It was, I was going through I was fighting for custody of my son, and I was also losing my house, my first house at the same time. And I couldn't tell my wife.
Mm.
And everything was happening all at the same time. It was a lot. I was going to court. I didn't have the money. It was either pay mortgage or pay the attorney fees. And he's my only child. So, got so good I won. But, that was the time I was thinking, I said, I was feeling bad because I said, I lose the house. It's not my wife's fault. I lose the house. How can I do that to somebody, it was really rough at that time. And I was prepping for my first show.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it was, I don't know if that helped going to the gym every day, because the trainer I had at the time, he was telling me, it's okay if you want to stop. But I just kept showing up to the gym every day because I guess that was the only thing that I had that was constant at the time, where everything was crazy. But that's that's from my experience for myself. I really think if when you do have somebody to talk to, and there are people around to talk to about it, it helps a lot. I don't know what would happen if he didn't pick up the phone.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Who knows what would have happened? So, that's,
Well, I'm glad he picked up
because
the phone.
Yeah, really.
I called a few people.
Ah,
I was actually calling people that, some people that were close to me. They didn't pick up, and he was the one that picked
Wow.
up, and it was because I was actually saying goodbyes at that time, because I was going, the case wasn't looking good. I was running out of money, didn't know how I was going to get the money, and it was getting kind of rough. I was falling into a depression. So
yeah. It
You know
seems
what? Real
good,
quick,
Phil.
real quick. He nailed that 100% on the head when he said he reached out for help. Regardless of who did not pick up, someone picked up.
Right.
Through my experience, and keep it real short. When I was going through what I was going through, us as men, this is the problem. We don't want to feel less than. We don't want to feel hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't open up to the people we should.
That's right.
So we hold it all in. That's what I did. And it rips you apart. I had a client 2 years ago text me. The text didn't make sense. So instead of me texting him back, something told me to give him a call. I gave this gentleman a call and I spoke to him for 25 minutes on the phone. Completely destroyed. Got him calm, everything was good. He texted me 2 days later and said that if I never spoke to him, he had a shotgun on his passenger seat sitting in his truck and he would have took his life.
Wow.
So that's why it's so important that you have to, as men, as bodybuilders, because we think we're so tough and we're hardcore, but at the end of the day, we're human. I plead to anyone, like Dave, I wish I could have known something and I would have called him, because you just need to reach out, and that could really impact and change a person's decision dramatically. And I'm very glad to hear that when he reached out, that person helped him. Man, that was powerful when I heard that, because that's what we need. We need people to reach out and just not be ashamed to ask for help.
No, you're 100% right. As a man, you feel like, and not only do you feel like, but you should be, very strong and be, your wife's rock and whatnot. But sometimes life will kick the shit out of you, man, and it's very difficult. And you definitely need somebody to speak to, because especially if you have people. Did Dave have any kids? Do you have children?
I didn't hear it.
No.
I don't think so.
He was married or he was divorced?
In Dorian's post, he mentioned his wife.
Okay. All right.
So he didn't mention any children. I think he probably would have if he did.
And in a little bit of research that I did, when men think that they don't have anything to live for, and when they lose hope, that's when it's pretty much done. So, and the reason, from what I read, from the reason why it's so high over the age of 40 is if life crumbles over the age of 40 and you kind of realize that you have more life in back of you than you have in front of you, and starting over is not like, when you're young, you're starting from the starting line. But if you lost everything and now you're 40, 50 years old, now you're starting from behind the starting line and you have to start all over again. And you don't think you have as much time. And then that's kind of like when hope, and then if you don't have children, or if you lost your children, or, your loved ones, or, a terminal disease where you kind of you feel like you can't fight it because you don't have enough time, whatever the case may be, that's when, generally speaking, that's when majority of men really lose hope. And when you don't have hope is like, it's like a pilot light. It's kind of always be on. If it goes out, that's when it's done.
Hope is more important than your diagnosis.
Yeah.
When I was going through my treatment, I went to Moffitt Cancer Center here in Tampa, which is one of the best in the world. People come from all over the world to go there. And the doctors told me that your impression of your disease, how you deal with it, your positivity, all of that is much more important than the severity of the disease. And they've actually studied it mentally, that your brain is one of the most important things in fighting diseases. And when I got diagnosed, I put my foot down. I said, I'm not dying now, and I'm not dying from this. I had 4 young kids, and they told me that's 90% of your battle is your attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's with anything in life, whether it's mental health or whatever.
No, I absolutely agree. You couldn't have said it better. When it comes to terminal disease, it's kind of cross culture, cross gender. It doesn't really matter. It's hard to, if you've gotten to a point where you think there's no return, and your family's going to suffer if you continue, and then that seems to be another avenue where a lot of people take matters into their own hands, which I could kind of understand. It's like a selfless thing to do, but it's just at the same time, you don't want to give up the fight. You never want to give up the fight, because you never know. Things happen all the time. I mean, my brother had my brother's a contractor, and he had a guy that worked for him that was in a coma for 6 months, and the doctors were telling his wife, it's over. It's on you whenever you want to let him go, and she refused, and he did wake up, and he, I don't know how physically better he was at, but he woke up. He wasn't able to come back to work, so I know he wasn't, because it's a very physical, strenuous job, but he did wake up. Once you lose that, and if there's no structure behind you, there's no hope, there's no loved ones, it becomes very bleak. I really think that this is that these situations need to be addressed greater. Because nobody's addressing this issue, whether it's men or women. Nobody's addressing at the rate. If you look up the top 10 reasons men die in the U.S., self-deletion's in the top 10. Everything else is a major disease, heart failure, heart disease, so on and so forth. The CDC records all this stuff, and again, I'm a big stats guy, and it's in the top 10, and then everybody just keeps going like nothing happened. And this is something that could really be addressed, this is not like a disease where you need a team of scientists to figure out how to cure cancer. This is something that we could, bond together as a society and as a generation and really help, but everybody just ignores it. And it's becoming more and more difficult to deal with, because we hear this stuff all the time and nobody addresses it, and it's becoming clearly frustrating. I don't know. Okay, Phil, what do you think?
Well, I just think in general, the way society is just set up now, so many people's about their self and only concerned about themselves. One of my old friends posted on Facebook, he said he reached out to every friend that he had on Facebook that he thought that was close to him. He reached out to me. Now, I haven't seen this guy in years, but when he was living in Florida, we hung out a lot. Me, Patty, him, we'd be at the pool, he grills food. So he sent a picture of all of us, and I was like, wow, man, remember those days, man. You know, I miss it. I miss you being here and so forth and so on. And then he said, 3 people responded back to him, and the other hundreds, nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody's just concerned in life about themselves. So you have to put yourself in a circle of quality people that cares about you.
Agreed.
John, like you've been through some situations just with MD and just stuff like that on social media, right? And everybody want to dip. It's like I don't want nothing to bounce back on me. I don't want this to happen. It's about me, right? But we're losing that love and loyalty that we used to have 10, 15, 20 years ago. You know? And I think the reason why they don't address it is because society wants the numbers to continue to go down with deletion and every other thing they can come up with, right?
Yeah.
So we have to get a unity just by you doing this podcast today. Hopefully it really reaches people and touch their hearts that at the end of the day, a friend may not be a friend. They may just be acquaintances.
That's right.
Choose your friends very smartly. A true friend is going to be there when you call them. So if you could pick up a phone and call 3 of your friends, and one answers and the other two don't and don't even call you back, that's what I'm talking about. It's just we just don't have that passion for life from people anymore. You know?
No, I agree, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper too. Society in general is becoming very selfish, but the sport of bodybuilding is a selfish sport to begin with. Do you think there's more of a lack of compassion, friendship, loyalty in bodybuilding in general versus general society? Because it is a very selfish sport to begin with. What do you think, Luke? Because you've been in the game a while.
I think it's more camaraderie with bodybuilding.
More, okay.
Because we all know what we're going through. So you could look at that next person and you understand what they're going through. You can relate to it more versus people on the outside. And like you might not be close to your fellow competitor that you're competing with on that stage, but you guys could look at each other and say, you had to go through it to get here. Versus our close relatives, family, and friends, they're the ones that they're looking at us from the outside and they're expecting us, oh, you're a bodybuilder, you're strong. But they don't know emotionally what we're going through at times. And so if, it's like, what is he coming to me crying for? He's strong. What is he complaining for? He goes to the gym, he lifts weights, he's strong. He's supposed to be able to handle whatever. And that's what makes it hard. And like Phil said, with the close friends, those are the ones that I call, the ones that I know people working during the day. So, and the one that actually answered it so happened. I found out that same day, he I don't know if he felt the need to pick up or what, because his cousin committed when he was younger. I said the word. His cousin did that when they were younger. So he was telling me the story and, he was talking about how he wished he could have been there. Didn't know. He didn't see the signs. But, so that's why I say that with the bodybuilder, we know what we're all going through. It just, if just like Phil said, if the guy if he had talked to him, it's easy for us to talk to each other versus talking to someone that's not in the sport.
I know.
Because we know what we're going through.
That's a very good perspective. Patty, can you talk about that? Because have you seen that with Phil and when he's competing with the other competitors?
Yeah, I was actually going to agree. I think when they do this sport, there is a bond between them because they know what they go through, like you were just saying. And I think the gym is mental health for a lot of them.
100%.
And honestly, I think the gym has saved a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's more so in this sport. Actually, I think they have a good community around them. It's just if they would reach out and talk to each other about it. But I think in general, I think a lot of it's the social media and people not talking as much anymore face to face, and a lot of it, everything is through texting and messages, and you look at social media and everything looks perfect, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's life looks perfect.
Which is a
So
bullshit. Yeah.
totally. And
Yeah.
so when you're going through something and you look at other people's lives, you're like, oh my God, mine's horrible. Like, look at them and they look so happy. And meanwhile, who knows, 2 minutes before that, the couple was screaming and yelling at each other or whatever, right? Um, so I think that's a big thing. And I really feel, I mean, I'm older, so I really feel for the younger people today because everything is about image and it's about what they show on social media and stuff. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of pressure.
It gets to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you don't look a certain way, if you don't have a certain thing. Do you hear about the little girl that was bullied because she didn't have a Stanley water bottle? She had another water bottle, right? And the girls were bullied. It's like, come on, give me a break. But 100%. And I couldn't agree more, Patty. But this is kind of funny, but at the same time, and I think Phil, actually Luke too, I think you guys could relate. When you have parents that weren't born here, when you have parents that were born in other countries, right? So my father was Italian, and I've been battling depression, anxiety since I'm 10 years old. It's just a clinical issue, and it's a chemical imbalance. I have to take Zoloft every night. I hate taking Xanax because I'm like a zombie. But if I get a really bad panic attack, I have to take Xanax. But I've been going through this, and basically, and Patty, I don't have to tell you, you can't really cure it, but you could expand the time in between panic attacks and depression episodes, right? And that's really what you want to try to do the best. But I remember when I was like, it was right after high school, it was really bad. And my father was like stoic, hard as nails. I mean, he carried the weight of the world on his back. And it was just, if I ever go into stories about my dad, it was just mind blowing. And I remember talking to my mother, like, well, what the fuck is wrong with this kid? Like, because he couldn't grasp the idea that I was having problems. He's like, he lives with us. He's got no money problems. What the fuck is wrong with this kid? And it's just like, it was more about, and then I had to actually, my mother had to actually like tell him, to like lighten up a little bit. And then I had to start going to therapy and whatnot. And then I got through it. But I remember it was like, he goes, I don't want you taking any medication. Don't take any pills, no pills. So I was like, all right, Dad, no problem. But it's that sometimes also too, because you reflect on your family. And if you have a really, really hard, strong dad, you're like, I got to be like that. I got to be like, hard and tough and strong like that. And sometimes it's life gets in the way, but we also don't know what they've been through. And then they just don't admit it or talk about it. What do you think, Phil? Because I know your parents are from Jamaica.
When you speak on that being hard and tough and all that, that was me when I first moved here. So when I first moved here, because in Jersey, my dad was very hardcore. Always look. He's from Jamaica, man. The man was stabbed 21 times and he was still living.
Right. Yeah.
So, he was just hardcore. I inherited that, so I never smiled. So everybody was really scared to approach me. So when I moved to Florida, everybody used to run to Patty. Is it okay if we talk to Phil or whatever? So Tim Gardner said to me, and Patty was like, I've been telling him for years. Tim said when he started coaching me, you got to ease up a little bit, buddy. You have to smile. You can't look like you hate the world,
Yeah.
And honestly, tell you the truth, as I'm getting older, I'm much more different. Of course, I'm much more emotional and laid back with the grandkids. Where when I was younger, I was more hardcore.
Oh, I gotta say something when you're done.
Okay.
But regarding, I want to just tap into bodybuilding real quick. Like, I've heard C-Bum say it. I heard quite a few bodybuilders say it. There is a time in our prep. We do break down. We break.
I can only imagine.
I remember 2 weeks before a show, I'm in the bathroom in the dark, and Patty comes in and she's like, "You okay?" And she turns on the light, and I'm just bawling. I was like, "I can't. There's no way I can finish." I said, "My ankles are swollen, my knees are hurting." I felt broken because I was so depleted. and I just didn't feel strong. I didn't feel like a bodybuilder. I felt like I don't even have the words of what I felt. And this sometimes when it's great to have not just a strong wife, but a strong significant other that can help you come out of that darkness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she just sat there and said, listen, Phil, you have 2 more weeks. You've been doing this for 13 weeks.
Mm.
You know what I mean? We're coming to the end of the road, and I can't remember everything she said, but whatever wisdom she came up with to take me out of that dark place, you know what I mean? I just took it one day at a time after that. So I just can't stress, no matter how tough you think you are or how tough you've grown up and how tough you want to be, you know, at the end of the day, we're still men. And we still have that little boy deep down inside, if we're willing to let it out sometimes and just show, which I know, John, you don't show emotion and cry and all that. But like I told Dorian in text, he said, you know, I was losing it. I'm getting it back a little bit. I said, listen to me, bro. Mourn. If you got to cry, cry.
Yeah.
Let it out. It don't make you less than a man to cry over your best friend and your coach. You know what I mean? So let it out. So at the end of the day, like I said, just having a strong person in your corner. And I'd say that to anybody that's watching this, DM me. I don't care what you're going through, bro. I'm never too busy when somebody is going through something that I will not reply back. I don't care who you are. I'd rather see you live to see another day than you make a decision and take your life. Just like you said, life don't have to be that bad. Because let's say you do it, and now your spirit looks back now and see where you could have been, but it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes life is not as bad as we think it is, but at that dark place, we do think it's that bad.
Absolutely.
So just communicate, man. Talk to people.
Patty, what were you going to say?
So yeah, when Phil came here, he was a rude boy, as they say. And people were terrified of Phil. And I knew he was like a big teddy bear. So they would come up to me, they'd say, can you ask him something? And I'd say, come on, let's go talk to him. And I kept telling him, Phil, you have to smile. Like, people are terrified of you. And I don't think he really knows like how big he is. And you know, so finally, yeah, Tim told him, you gotta smile more, buddy. And now that Phil has gotten older, because we've been together a long time, my kids were younger when he met me. And you know, I gotta say, Phil is an incredible guy because I had 11-year-old twins. One of them has some he has Asperger's and some other stuff. And then I had a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old who thought she was 30. So he came in and helped me raise my children. And my kids now see him with the grandkids and they're like, wow, I wish we had that Phil growing up, because he was so strict with my kids.
Yeah.
He had them eating tuna fish and rice and no snacks in the house. And when he was prepping, my kids would say, Mom, when is he going to be able to eat carbs again? Because he was so like irritable without the carbs. And when he wasn't in the house, we would make microwave popcorn. And then this is a true story. And before he came home, all of us would run around the house spraying like air freshener to get the microwave popcorn smell out of the air. So, and now they see him with the grandkids. And I mean, I didn't let my kids have anything. I didn't let them have phones. I didn't let them have electronics. I didn't let them have video games, nothing. Now the grandkids got tablets, cell phones, everything. And they're like,
and I bet you bought them all for him. Yeah, yeah, and you guys bought them all for him, right?
Guy. So, but yeah, no, he's grown a lot. I've helped him put a smile on.
Good. Luke, where's your family from?
Nigeria.
Okay. Is it the same kind of thing where they
my dad was very, very, very strict. To the point where my mom used to tell me I have a hard face. And I didn't learn. Like, people meet me, they're like, oh wow, you're intimidated. I'm like, no, I'm a nice guy, I'm one of the nicest people, but you know, it's just I just had my mother would tell me, you have a hard face. You need to ease up, and I don't know how to. You know, that's what I have. But yeah, and that's where it comes from, because my dad always used to say that when I was little. I guess it was happening. I didn't realize it, but he used to say it to me: if somebody does that, you're a coward. And that's what he knew from
Right.
how he grew up. He said he said there should be no reason to do that. But things are different in different places. My dad is old, very, very old school. That's not common where he grew up, and I was born here. So, it's not common in Nigeria that people would do that. Just get up and do that. So, and if you are, they said that is mental, or there's something wrong with you. They don't see it as, oh, that person needs someone to talk to. They're going through problems. They can't handle it, things of that nature. So, that's a one big reason, because whenever I have problems, like even with school, if there was something wrong in the class that I didn't understand, my dad was like, "What do you mean you don't understand? It's what you're going to school for."
Right.
So it's like
yeah, you're like, okay, yeah, all right.
So
kind of makes sense.
It was like that. So so that's he was very old school. So yeah, you're right. When it comes to like other countries and things like that, the old school parents, they're really like they don't see that that's a problem.
Another fact, stat, whatever you want to call it, that people don't realize when it comes to mental health issues is there's this thing called God, I can't remember the term. Recent memory bias, something to that effect. And basically, people only think to the past 20 or 30 or maybe 40 years before them. And loneliness is a very, very new issue. Even when we were growing up 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you grew up in a community, right? Yeah. Where people all around you and kids in the neighborhood, and you could rely on the adults around you. And the further back you go, the more of a community that you grew up in. It's only in the last maybe 50 to 60 years, and it's become increasingly greater, where the fact of loneliness comes into play, because now people don't really socialize outside their home. They don't. A lot of people don't get physical exercise because they have too much. Either they're working too much, or they have too many distractions, like Netflix or PlayStation, or there's no reason to leave the house. And working together, like, if you go back only 100 years or so, 120 years or so, men would physically have to work together, and women would work together to make the community grow. They would bring up the kids, and they would cook, and they would do the clothes, and they would do it all together. And men would actually have to go out and physically work together. And there wasn't much of a mental issue problem back then. And it's growing increasingly with the idea of we are alone. But that's not how people are supposed to be working together. People are supposed to be around other people and bond and work together. That's how we are. That's our DNA. That's our structure. That's how it's been like for thousands of years. And I have this strong feeling that this issue is only going to get worse, because the idea of technology advancing, loneliness becoming a problem, mental health on the rise, I think is only going to get worse and worse and worse. I remember as a kid, in school, when you're talking, we're talking the 80s, right? In school, coming home, my mother would say, put your play clothes on, take your school clothes off, put your play clothes on. And I was outside playing with my friends till the lights came on in the street. That's how you knew to come home. Or your father or your brother yelled for you to come in and eat dinner or something like that. I don't see kids playing outside anymore. It's like, if you don't keep them busy, if you're not keeping them on baseball teams and football teams and so on and so forth, there's no community around them to keep them, socialized. And I think that's a huge problem with today's generation. Has anybody, Phil, you spoke to Dorian today?
I just spoke for him briefly through text. I did, sometimes when people, I just want him to just moan and I'll probably call him over the weekend. I just need him to let go. That's why I think it was a good idea of you even telling him it wasn't like a good idea to come on right now. I think he would have been very heavily emotional. But I'm just gonna let him do his thing. But he's in good spirits because I texted him several times to check up on him, and I told him I'm here for you. So do not hesitate to pick up the phone and give him a call because I know he is want to get ready for the New York Pro. So this just do a big monkey wrench in a lot of things with him right now.
Yeah.
So he's going to need definitely the full support from anybody that knows Dorian. He could be out there sometimes, with his thinking, but he's a great dude, man. He grew on me throughout the years. So he's a good dude. He's a really, really good dude. A very kind-hearted guy.
I'm gonna give a day or two before I call him because he's probably bombarded with phone calls and texts. But I'm gonna give him either I'll call him tomorrow or the day after, and and see how he's doing and so on and so forth. If he's from what I understand, he's very close to him. This is gonna hurt pretty bad. So I don't want to be one of those people that's just bombarding him if he needs the time alone and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Luke, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to just piggyback on what you said.
Yeah.
You're 100% correct because actually talking to someone face to face, especially for the children, it actually causes different development in the brain and different pathways in the brain get activated when you're speaking to someone face to face versus over a phone or text or whatever. And you're 100% right. The problem is only going to get worse because the people are not interacting physically together. And like you said, being older, well, first of all, we didn't have to ever be called home because if we weren't home, we were going to get butts.
That's the truth. Right?
So my dad's father came from Russia and my mom's parents were Irish. We were the craziest mix ever. Right. They were hard as nails.
Yeah, especially Russia. Mamma mia, forget it.
Well, I gotta tell you, my grandfather fought in both world wars for the United States. He was 52 years old in World War II.
Wow.
And he worked 3 jobs. The guy was like an animal. He was a beast.
Yeah.
And my dad was a Korean War vet. So, and my mom's side, they came from the famine in Ireland. These people, they would laugh at our problems today. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
That these people came through horrible things.
Right.
But the big thing is like you said, we were out playing, we were, getting exercise, we were talking to people. I went into this store here a few years back and they're from Jersey. And I went in there and I was chatting with them. The husband and wife owned it. And we were there talking for a while. Phil's always like, you're talking to everyone. Yeah, that's me. But I was talking 30 minutes and they said to me, can you please come back? They said, we miss this. People don't talk anymore. They said, we used to sit out on our porch and talk to our neighbors all the time.
That's right.
And that's how it was. I'm from Long Island. And so, people, they just sat out on their stoops and they talked to each other and the neighbors knew each other and you had block parties and the neighbors could discipline you as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had a couple of neighbors.
Yeah, of course.
Give me a little here and there. So,
yeah.
It was a community and that community is missing today.
All right.
And these kids, it's only going to get worse.
I'm Patty, I'm going to give you the last word, but I want to go to Phil and Luke first. So, Phil, before we cut off, you have anything else you'd like to say?
Oh man, just back to what I said, man. I'm very happy we did this podcast today. To show tribute to Dave Kalick and his family. Of course, Dorian because he's part of his family, but there's a meaning to this podcast today, and it's for everyone that's going through any type of problem. I think ever since the COVID thing happened, that's where we started to see the shift in everything. Where
I agree.
Unity come together is done. But we have to not let society or the government dictate to us that we cannot be united. We're the United States of America, so unity is key. And we just need one by one to try to get back to that as much as possible. Mental health is real, don't get me wrong. But when I sat and watched my wife battle through her situation, which was not easy for me being a man, because I felt hopeless. I'm so strong, I work hard, but I couldn't help her. That as a man, it really kills you. But to watch her take the steps, one day at a time, and it wasn't easy. I thought I had to check her into a crazy place at one point, you know. But I saw this woman fight, bro. So there's no excuse for no man, no woman, and nobody out there if they use the resources that we have to get the help they need, and not just let everything come down on us to the point where no matter what you do now, it's too late. But it's never too late. So if I could watch Patty battle and do what she did, she made me being a bodybuilder, me being a boxer and a wrestler, she made me look weak. Right. So I applaud her for that. So everyone needs to just dig down deep and just reach out to people, man. Please, you're not less than a man. Nobody's going to think any different than you. And if they do, oh well, find some better friends. But we need just to get back to that love and passion. That's what we need to get back to, the love and passion, and just love and care on each other.
Agreed. Luke, go ahead, man. And then tell us what, after that, just tell us, I know I thought you were doing the New York Pro. What are you doing after that? But give us your thoughts on what we were talking about today. And I just want to know what your plans are for bodybuilding.
So, like Phil said, use your resources. Please, anyone feeling some type of way, talk to somebody. Especially if you're going to the gym, trust and believe me, your gym bros, anyone in the gym, I believe it or not, any professional bodybuilder, any bodybuilder you're following, you can message them. Somebody's gonna reply your message. Those are resources that people don't realize that they have, and people can relate to you. Those are the people that can actually relate to you and talk to you and understand what you're going through, and won't look at you like you're crazy or anything like that. Just please use those type of resources for us. It's important for us that are in the sport, that are doing the sport, and always feel that we're alone at times when we really aren't. And there's always someone you can talk to. There's always someone you can talk to, believe it or not. I always try to, I don't care who it is. I never look at myself as I'm bigger than anyone. Anyone that DMs me, I reply to messages. I always talk. I even invite them to come and work out with me if they're in the area, you know.
Right.
You know, just so they know that, okay, oh wow, there's somebody I can talk to, you know, because I know the feeling of not feeling that I could talk to anyone. So I don't like people to feel that way. It's a horrible feeling, and I just try to encourage people, inspire people to, you know, do well, and that's it. As far as a show, I'm not sure what show I'll do that now, but well, I'm still training as if when it's time to go, we'll be ready. And right. John will be the first to know.
All right, cool. Patty, there are certain women that I meet and I have the utmost respect for. And I think I'm a pretty good judge of character. Well, I know I'm a good judge of character, right? Yeah, it's one thing I am. But after getting to know you through this podcast, and I knew you were a good person beforehand, but after getting to know you with this podcast, you have my utmost respect from here on in. You are one of those women that has the capability to bring people together, and that's lacking in young ladies today. When you could bring family together and make family stronger, as you did with you and Phil's, that speaks volumes about a person. So you have my utmost respect from here on in, always. And you're always invited, and you are the now you are the queen of muscle talk. That's just the way it's going to be. But I want to give you the last word.
Well, thank you so much. It's really nice. And Phil almost made me cry. You all are gonna make me cry tonight. No, I'm strong. I'm gonna be okay. No, I just want to say what the same thing is like if anyone, Phil answers everything that comes in. So if anyone has any problems or they're suffering or they want someone to talk to, Phil is, and myself, we've both done that a lot with different people. And Phil really takes a lot of time. He's more of a therapist sometimes with his clients than he is a trainer. You know, he's sat with grown men crying in his office and women that are going through stuff, and he'll take 45 minutes, an hour after training and talk to them and stuff. So we're just here to help people. You know, I don't want to see anyone suffer, and I've suffered, you know, so I know firsthand. And you know, I'm just a fighter though. I'm tough. I'm one of 11 kids. I'm the ninth out of 11, and I have 5 brothers. So yeah, I'm from New York and we're tough, and I've been through a lot in my life. You know, I've survived a lot of terrible, terrible things. And but I didn't, you know, I went to therapy this summer, and I went and reached out and got help. And I also, the biggest thing for me was God. You know, my relationship with him has grown tremendously, and it's actually been a blessing to me what happened, because I feel even stronger, my faith in myself. I let go of a lot of stuff that had happened to me in my past, you know, so I worked through a lot of stuff, and it was hard. It wasn't easy. There were nights that I literally begged God to kill me, because I knew I would never take my own life because I have children and grandchildren and Phil, and I would never devastate them like that. But I thought, God, how can I live like this, you know, for the rest of my life? And one night I was actually bargaining with God, and I said, God, give me back my cancer and take this. And that's how serious it is, you know, when you're in that dark place. I was wanting to have stage 3 breast cancer back and chemotherapy and everything else versus what I was going through mentally. But my therapist told me something that changed my whole perspective. And she said, you have physically survived great danger and terrible things. These are just things in your mind. You know, I was flashbacks and other stuff like that. And she said, you're strong, you're a fighter, you've been through the real thing. These are just things in your brain. You know, you have to run towards them. So when you were saying about the anxiety, what I was taught by my therapist is do not run from anxiety, because you're teaching your brain that anxiety is something to be afraid of. And when you run towards it, it lessens. And I can tell you, I feel dramatically different, dramatically. And I don't take a lot of medications at all. I don't take any anti-anxiety. I don't drink. I don't like anything that messes with my brain at all.
Mm.
A lot of it was just prayer and going to therapy and facing my fears and knowing anxiety cannot kill you. It'll never, and you feel you're going to die.
Oh yeah.
You know, you think you're going to have a heart attack or whatever, but you're not. It's never going to kill you. And just face your fears and go towards the fear, because once you do that, the fear dies down. And so I appreciate all the love, and we're just here to help other people if you need help. And I know I'm a survivor, and I know that you can, if I can do it, you can do it, you know? So, but thanks for having me on. Next time I come on, we're going to have a lot of fun.
A little bit more fun. Yeah.
And I'm gonna tear. Let me tell you something.
I want to drop the beans. Everybody wants the whole bodybuilding school from Patty. So
wait till I spill the dirt on Phil. He said, I'm gonna blow you up on there. I said, don't do it, boy, because I'm gonna get you right back.
No, I just want to thank everybody for coming on. Luke, thank you for coming on and joining us again. Phil, of course, always a pleasure. And Patty, always much respect, much love. And our prayers go out to Dave Kalick and his family. And of course, prayers to Dorian. We'll all be in touch with Dorian to see how he's doing. And I just want to, it's always a pleasure having you guys on and having a conversation. So thank you so much for coming on and being part of my podcast.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.